Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of the Controls DLC, The Foundation. I played it on the PS4. If you're thinking, didn't he originally play Control on the Xbox One? You're right, because it's also available on the Xbox One. But because I wanted to replay Control, I figured I would get the trophies, since I already got most of the achievements. It seemed like a good idea at the time. But let's get into The Foundation, which is the first real DLC for Control. I'm going to avoid spoilers, but obviously if you've played Control at all, you are well aware that Jessie Faden is more or less Mrs. Fix-It for the Bureau. Anything that seems to go wrong in the Bureau, she is basically in charge of fixing, and well, stuff starts to get weird. Marshall kind of went missing during the main game. It's not really spoilers because it doesn't affect the story of the main game. Well, you find out where she went in the Foundation. Incidentally, she went to the foundation of the Bureau. And I gotta say, I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but obviously, like I said, Jessie is trying to fix certain things. You find out there's definitely some more intrigue going on, and I'm really digging it. I really like what they're building. I can't wait for more content. This is definitely a very good addition to what was already there. As for the audio, the high quality audio continues from the actual game. The sound effects, the music, the voiceover work, it's all very well done, and I really do think they do a good job with the facial capture and matching that up with the audio. But I like the music. It still keeps that vibe that the main game had, little sci-fi going on. I really like what it does. And obviously, since you don't have a normal gun, it doesn't sound like a normal gun. You're not up against normal people. They don't sound like normal people. It's really cool. Let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot. This continues on from the end of the main game. You can't actually access the Foundation until you have beaten the main game. So at this point, you should have all your powers, the telekinesis, the hovering, the shield, all of that cool stuff, plus you have your awesome gun. Which is generally my preferred method, that or telekinesis, but the gun is really cool, and I found that I really like the charge mechanic of it, which is kind of like a rocket launcher. That and the regular grip mode, which is the traditional handgun mode. They have added a higher tier of upgrades to the game, and I'm not sure if that's from the Foundation itself. It seems to be, but it also includes new modifications for your weapons as well as for your character. The Foundation goes beyond that. It adds new missions. It adds an entirely new area, which I will get into in a bit. But there are also now some other optional missions, specifically one that leads to an optional boss fight. I didn't really get to finish that. I wanted to make sure that I finished the core of the Foundation. I will say, like the other optional boss fights from the main game, it is far more challenging than the rest of the content. But I will say the new content is kind of different, and it does work well within the world of Control, so that's not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. As for the controls, nothing has really changed there. They are still solid. It's not the most precise shooting you're going to find, but it does work well. The movement, the dodging, everything is very responsive. I don't have any major complaints with any of that. Like I said, I would say my biggest complaint is that it's not the most accurate shooter, but it is more accurate than other games I have played. As for the graphics and visuals, I really do love the way this game looks. I love the style. I will say, however, I feel like, having played this now on the PS4, that the Xbox One X version did look a bit better. I think overall it was cleaner and it rendered more smoothly. Not to say that the PS4 Pro version or PS4 version looks or runs horribly. It runs well and it looks good, just looks a little bit better on the Xbox One X. That being said, I really like the design, and the new area is actually very different from the old house, which is where the rest of Control takes place. The Foundation DLC, for a while, a lot of it takes place in the astral plane, but the rest of it takes place in these caverns, which are white and red, and they have these weird crystals growing out of them. It's really cool looking. And I personally think like the white and red design is very dynamic, and it just adds something different, especially compared to what the rest of the game looked like, the main game looked like. But as for the characters and all of that, I still really love this crazy cool sci-fi design. I love the way that they're very neo-noir characters, but I also love the realism element of it. I think it all just comes together very well to give us something a little different, and the Foundation DLC visually adds something to that. So to wrap this up, I loved this DLC. I really enjoyed it. I think it adds to a game that I was already very much in love with. So yeah, if you have played Control, then you know what I'm talking about already, and I fully recommend this DLC as well. It adds a good amount of content. It's not an insane amount of content, but it is a good amount of content, and it's a good reason to dive back into an awesome game. So yes, recommended. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me what your favorite neo-noir book is? We're gonna go with books. And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, sure subscribe. Have a good one. Oh, shit. As for the graphics and visuals, fucking words, man. You tell me what your fucking words tonight, man.